Welcome. My name is Malia Smith, and I'm here today with Jerry Beerman. We are very excited because he's going to be leading our brand new entrepreneurship class. So we wanted to just share a little bit about him and his experience and his life, and then also, just let him share about what this class is going to look like. So welcome, Jerry. It's so good to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Malia. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So you want me to give you a little kickoff as far as how we even started doing the classes?
Yeah, that would be great.
So, gosh, about 2 years ago, pre-COVID, of course, as we're dating things now, right? Everything's like post or pre. So pre-COVID, I was a part of a network in primarily northern Kentucky. There's an organization called Navigo, and they created some opportunities for high school students to explore like what it would be like to work at St. Elizabeth, or what it would be like to work at Amazon or wherever, P&G, for instance. And entrepreneurship has become very popular, obviously. And so they said, what if we offered an entrepreneur class? And so then I got connected, and I'm entrepreneurial. And so I said, hey, I'd love to grab a group of high school students and explore what it looks like to start, launch, sustain businesses. So that I'm entrepreneurial myself, and getting around other young people that are entrepreneurial or they want to own their own business is very, I love those conversations.
That's awesome. Okay, so when you say you're entrepreneurial yourself, what does that mean, and how is that different from just being a business owner?
Yeah, so, well, that's something that we're going to explore in the class as well. So I would tell young people that say, even their parents, a lot of times parents will say, gosh, you're entrepreneurial or whatever. I would have, my encouragement would be to have students come to the class. During the class, we're going to explore the difference between being entrepreneurial and being a small business owner. And so kind of re-engineering this a little bit, I'll be 55. And for probably 54 years, one of the family jokes is my wife will say things like, what is wrong with you? And my typical response, tongue in cheek, is I've never been diagnosed. That there's, and we laugh, but there's always truth and sarcasm, right? So there's some pieces to that candidly, I felt different. I didn't say it out loud much, but I would be around other business owners, and I'm like, gosh, my brain just doesn't think like they do. I'm thinking there is something wrong with me. And so I studied, I read, I don't know if you can see this, if you're taping this, I've got the Entrepreneur Leap is what I recommend the students read before the class. But I read this book, and it spoke to me about me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like God's uniquely made me. I'm not better, and I'm clearly not worse than anybody. I'm just different. And so an entrepreneurial mind is a different gifting, and you just think different. And it's the body of Christ. And anyway, so at 54, it was kind of an awakening for me to be like, oh, I am different, but there's nothing wrong with me. And so one of my passions is to get around young people that might be feeling that way, or maybe even the education system, the way it's designed, might be kind of labeling people. Like, maybe some of the labels that are going after some of these young people, getting attached to some young people. It's just like, you're just different. Like your brain's just different. And so just very quickly, I'll give you a quick example of being entrepreneurial versus being a very successful business owner. And do you like Chick-fil-A by any chance?
Love it.
Okay. So Chick-fil-A, if you're going to own a franchise, Chick-fil-A would be a great franchise for you to own. An entrepreneur would die, and like I would like to own one,
sure,
but I wouldn't want to work in it, and I wouldn't want to manage it, because the systems and the processes have already been refined. And so so a business owner, like, it's really smart to buy a business like or to build a business like Chick-fil-A, where it's very predictable. But candidly, I would die there. I mean, like, it would be the worst thing in the world for you to take somebody that's entrepreneurial and put them in a Chick-fil-A, because they don't let me innovate. They don't let
Mm-hmm.
me come up with creative new ways of doing things.
Right.
So people that are entrepreneurial are very, they're bent towards like, how do we break things? And maybe it makes it worse, maybe it makes it better.
Yeah.
And so, being entrepreneurial is seeing ideas. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in a Burger King years ago, and it was so many years ago, probably pre-Malaya. It was probably late 80s. And
That's not pre-Malia.
okay. So, but it's just when they started adding like the two, if you remember the, pre 80s where they just had like one, you would go up and place your order like right in the window. And then they started adding the stations where you'd pull up and you'd look at the menu, and then you'd pull up, and the next one you'd place your order. And I was sitting next to a college buddy of mine who just graduated, and he couldn't find a job, and he was just complaining. I mean, he was just incessantly complaining. And I was sitting there and I was getting really aggravated. And as the car in front of me pulled up, I noticed that every time the car stopped, there was dripping from the car, and there was an oil patch. And this guy's named Sean, and I turned to Sean and I said, Sean, there's so many opportunities. I said, I could start a business cleaning oil patches. And like, as the car pulled in front of us. And so sure enough, I went up and ordered, my Whopper with a Diet Coke, because you always get a Diet Coke with a Whopper. Anyway, so as I was getting my food, I said to the person, handing me my order, I said, hey, can I talk to your manager? And they looked at me and I said, everything's fine. I just want to ask the manager a question. So the manager stuck his head out, and I said, hey, do you see those oil spots behind us? And he looked and he said, yeah. And I said, would you consider hiring somebody to clean those? And he said, well, maybe. And I said, do you mind if I go get some product at Lowe's and see if I can buy some product that might actually remove some of those oil spots? So I went to Sam's, and I got something that's a demulsifier. And then I went back to Burger King same day, and I said, hey, can I borrow some water? And I took water and I took emulsifier, and I went out and I had a scrubber and I scrubbed, and the oil came up. And so then I left there and I went to a bank out in Hebron, and where I banked, and I went I knew the guys there, and I said, hey, I started a business to clean oil patches. And it was a Friday, and I said, hey, would you be willing to hire me to clean your drive-through oil patches? And they said, yeah, what would you charge us? And I said, $150 or whatever. And they said, sure. So then I went back to Sam's, and I bought a pressure washer, and I put it in the back of my car. I had a Volkswagen Square back. There was a trunk, and I had help getting the pressure washer in, and that launched my business. And so that business then went through several iterations. But I think that's a story of, and then we ended up doing Frisch's tile restoration and blah, blah, blah. But
on and on.
The entrepreneur, like my father-in-law says to me all the time, he says, Jerry, you just can't help yourself. And it's like, that's true. I cannot help myself. I just see things, and then I see opportunities.
There you go.
So
I love that. So how many businesses would you say you've started then?
Oh gosh. So I live in the micro bootstrap small business world, which means that I've got to start it with whatever I have in my checking account. So I've never gone and borrowed money to start a business. Everything that I've started, for-profit businesses or nonprofits, everything that I've been a part of launching, is I've had to do it, just bootstrapping. So bootstrapping is a term that, you've got to self-fund it. And so several small businesses from time in college to, present day, actually. So several small businesses, none of them, some of those like that, the cleaning business that evolved into some tile restoration work, I gave that to a friend of mine. I didn't sell it. When it ran its course and I was bored with it, I had a friend of mine that worked with me, and I just handed it over to him. So some businesses just died. I just let them die, and that business I actually just handed over.
That's great. Have you ever sold any businesses?
No. Yeah. I've never sold. I've never really had anything that's been valuable enough to sell it besides the company that I have currently. And so we're exploring how to sell my current business, the Learning Glass, to our staff. So I am in conversations how to sell it to them, have them have part of the ownership of it. So more to come on that.
So how does, I feel this ties into that, like how does having a biblical worldview inform how you do business and why you do business and how you do entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's hard. It's funny you said that. I was on a call with a group of leaders this morning, and we were talking navigating like your faith in the marketplace. And so I don't know, I could differentiate between small business ownership, but one of the beauties of small business ownership is like, you get to lead it. And so the navigating like, we all as Christians know, like Jesus should be the CEO, right? The Lord should be the CEO of the company. And that's the right thing to say. The tension is, how do you actually live that out? Like that's easy. I've been around the church long enough. I know the right answers, but living it out is the tension. And so that's one of the tension points, is like, is it God's business or is it your business? And then, as you're looking at, like for us, we have internal customers, which is our staff, and external customers, which is outward, customer facing, the end users. And then how does your faith intersect with that, like with your internal customers? How do you navigate that? Yeah. And it's hard, and yet that's what God's called us to, right? It's hard stuff. It's messy. It gets really messy, and you're wearing different hats. So Maddie's sitting next to me, and I may have a conversation with her after this call where it's a friend hat, right? Yeah. I may have a conversation with her after this that I'm trying to be a father figure, right? Mentor, leader. Right. And then I might have a conversation with Maddie that is like, I'm the boss hat, right? And I need you to do it this way because I'm the owner of the company, and I need you to do it this way. So a lot of different hat wearing. Yeah. And the other piece, Malia, is that like you put a target on your back. Like when you own a business, you get disproportionate amount of credit and you get disproportionate amount of shots, right? And so you also have to have like really strong shoulders, right, to carry the weight of responsibility. Yeah. And so the assessment, I don't know if I sent you the assessment. We'll definitely have the students go through the assessment. The assessment takes you through 6 characteristics that are embodied by entrepreneurs, and it's a vision. So it's V, which is vision, and then problem solving, and then passion. Entrepreneurs are very vision oriented, they're problem solvers, and they're passionate. And so I wake up without an alarm clock, and I'm sure this will be weird for a high school student to hear, but like I love, the only day better than Friday, I tell my staff, is Monday. Like I love to go and do. And I love my wife, and I love date night, and I love my weekends, and I love the hobbies that I'm involved with. Like I'm passionate about life. Yeah. And that's one of the characteristics you'll see about entrepreneurs. And then they problem solve. When I'm in traffic and I'm looking at the way the ramp's set up, I'm thinking, well, gosh, they could have, should have, would have, done this. And then on the other side, they're driven, they're risk takers, which is probably very dangerous for parents to hear, but they take risk. Like, I'm not driven. I need money because it's fuel, but I'm not driven by wealth, having it or not having it. Yeah. And so risk taking is a characteristic of entrepreneurs. And then they lean into disproportionate amount of responsibility, that they want responsibility. They want, if the buck stops here type thing, like I want ownership and responsibility. So whatever our staff does that's good, then as I said, I get a disproportionate amount of attaboys. And then anything that our staff does that underperforms, then I'm responsible for that too, because they're in my charge. Yeah, yeah.
So when you think about this entrepreneurship class that we're piloting in Ohio for PEP, what is something that you're excited about or looking forward to?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think kind of the giving, like creating a place or a space for young people to dream, right? like what are the like some things that you might be uncomfortable talking to your friends about or your parents about, but like some dream that you think maybe God's given you a dream for this, just to give a safe space to kind of just open that up and let's just, whether it happens or it doesn't happen, let's just kind of talk about it and let's encourage that. And this is an environment where we embrace those crazy right ideas, and so just kind of a place for young people to find what they might not be aware of is a tribe of people like themselves, like where they're like, oh, I fit in with these type of people actually get me. And again, we're not better than anybody, and we're certainly not worse than anybody. We're just clearly different. So just a safe space to like just expand your vision.
Yeah. So you've referenced it a few times, kind of feeling different, or those who might be different in different ways. And you've spoken about, passionate and other things like that. But what are some of the characteristics that could play into making a good entrepreneur that sometimes could be perceived as negative, or some of those labels that might be spoken
Right.
over kids that you see the redeemed side of it, you see the future side of it, discipled and mentored. So to kind of cast some hope and vision.
Yeah. Well, the negative is easy because you get discounted, right? You're like, that's stupid, Jerry. It's almost like when there's laughter and like even sometimes physically just kind of people pushing their hand towards you. It's like they just deflect or discount your thoughts or your ideas. They don't let you finish your ideas. They don't let you finish your thoughts. They'll say things like, you start a lot of things, but you don't stick with anything. Like all these negative things. And that's where the enemy, so people that have a lot of ideas start a lot of things. And so Maddie will tell you, Maddie's been here since February, I think. Like I can start, like I'm a quick starter. I can start tons of things. Well, one of the negative of that is then how many things do you finish? It's like, well, not many. And so in our society, especially as a parent, I'm a parent also, I've got 4 kids, but as a parent, you're like, hey, you're going to finish what you started. And actually, what I talk to kids about is like, that's not always true. Like sometimes it's the right time. Like you test, and that's, if you're familiar with business accelerators, they test quick because they want to fail quick and move on to the next thing. And so, some of the things society says or parents might say is, hey, stick with things. It's like, that's not actually always good advice. And so I think entrepreneurs can get trapped in that, kind of get sucked up into that you have all these ideas and you have no safe place to express them because you're like, I'm not even going to say these things because people just laugh at me.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. I love that perspective shift, and just valuing how the Lord has created each of us individually. He's prepared us for good works to walk in them. And it's so exciting. So one of the things for this pilot class that we're doing in Ohio, it says that the class fee is all going to go towards a class project, like actually starting a business. Like, that's incredible. Like, what? I mean, are they actually going to are they actually going to do something?
Yeah, well, again, I'm a quick starter, so we're going to try a bunch of things.
I love it.
We'll start a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So
That's
with
awesome.
whatever we have, and the seed money is what it is. So so if we have a couple $100, then it's, and that's part of the tension with entrepreneurship, right? You got to go with what you got. And so what are the resources that we have access to? And it's like, if we have $37, then we're gonna figure out what we can do with $37.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I've started asking everyone that I'm interviewing for PEP related things this one question. It's been really fun to hear people's answers. So if you could have anyone from history as a dinner guest, whom would you have and why?
Well, realizing that the Holy Spirit's with us present, so I would say Jesus would be, right? I mean, that would be if you pushed on, I mean, Jesus would be, that would be awesome.
Right. So, okay, so we'll presuppose Jesus.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a good question then. Probably some, Ford. somebody that like innovated something, yeah, somebody like Ford, somebody that invented the, the vehicle or something like that. Somebody that invented something that we're all experiencing. I'd say somebody like Bill Gates, but
Yeah.
But anyway, somebody that invented something that had to listen to all the naysayers for so long,
Yes.
right? So I don't know what did they say? How many times did it take them, to develop the light bulb or something? There were like, I don't know
Right.
how many thousands of attempts, but somebody like that
Yeah.
that went through like just thousands of iterations of failure before they had success.
Mm-hmm.
It would be fascinating.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. I'm so
Sure.
excited. All the details about the class will be on the posts and at parent orientation and things like that. You can always reach out and ask us any questions if you have questions about the class or more questions for Jerry. But before we head out, is there anything else burning in your soul that you would like to share?
Oh yeah, there's tons. But yeah, so no, I would just say, that again, I think it's a unique gifting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's different types of businesses that we'll explore. You may hear terms like lifestyle businesses, for instance. And there's nothing, there's a lot of businesses that are incredibly fulfilling, and they're not size revenue generated, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll explore all that. There's a lot of lifestyle businesses where people simply have their business as a way to just pay their bills, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. They're not trying to
Mm-hmm.
build something to sell it.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll also explore your identity, how your identity can get trapped in that, and some of
That's
the
great.
warning signs that definitely has happened to me over the years, where the business can replace the Lord. And so,
Mm-hmm.
what are the mentors? What are some of the people that you need to, like? Even though you're an independent business owner, you need a support cast of
Yeah.
people on your team like Maddie, and then you also need people on your team like mentors and other leaders, people that have gone before you. And what I found is the entrepreneurial community is incredibly gracious, incredibly helpful. They've got an abundance mentality.
Mm-hmm.
They're not harboring wisdom and insight, and they're like, "You need to go learn this on your own, kid." Right? They'll talk to you about minefields and how do you navigate the minefields, and
I
maybe
love
you
it.
need to step on a mine to learn, but maybe there's some mines that we can help you navigate that aren't gonna be so painful.
That's great.
So,
I love that. So exciting. Can I join your class?
yeah, more the merrier.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You bet.
And we'll be in touch. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Bye.
Maria. Thank you.